What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I'd actually like to take some time to talk about one Jose Froggy Estrada. Now, the first time that I'd ever heard about Froggy Estrada was actually in line at the Exchange LA when I was about to purchase my ticket for a Combate Americas event that they held across 3 nights, 3 consecutive Mondays for their TV tapings for UFC Fight Pass. And I was just trying to get a ticket. Now, I'd purchased tickets to UFC 199 that was only about 2 weeks away, but I'd never been to a live MMA fight card in my life, which is kind of crazy to say because the last 3 years have kind of been almost every weekend covering fights, doing podcasts, interviews, and what have you. So that's been cool. But it was a very different time, about 2016, 2017. So one thing that I definitely noticed waiting in line, there was a contingent of people, probably about 40 plus people deep, and they had all, through murmurs that I'd heard, come from Ventura County in the 805 in Oxnard, which on a Monday afternoon, that could be at times with traffic, LA traffic, that's probably a 2 to 3 hour drive. And they had all come, and they were all in support of Froggy Estrada. So I was like, who is this kid? Now, just by the magnitude of people that were waiting in line, and literally the line stretched across probably a block around the building. So I was like, oh man, maybe I should have purchased tickets online. It's probably not going to be a ticket. And wouldn't you know who won the pony? But Campbell McLaren, the president of Combate Americas and one of the co-founders of the UFC, had come out. And I just kind of spoke out to him. I was like, hey, Campbell, like, do you think there'll be any tickets left? And he was like, hey, kid, if you get inside, I'm going to make sure that there's a ticket waiting for you to purchase. So I was like, man, that's really cool. He didn't have to do that. So that was awesome, right? So get inside, was able to purchase a ticket, thankfully. And I can't remember where Froggy's fight was on the card, but one thing that I did realize was there were murmurings amongst the crowd, and by the time that we were in, and we were probably in line for about an hour or so this is like 4 or 5 o'clock, and the show, the first fight took place at 7 o'clock. But by the time the fights, were up and running, there were murmurings like, oh, Froggy's fights next, and you gotta watch my kid Froggy, and he's the next star of MMA and what have you, right? So end up watching Froggy's entrance, right? And the cool thing about the Exchange LA was it's a split level venue, right? So the fighter entrances were on the top. They started at the top, and they came down dueling staircases, and on the bottom floor was the cage, the jaula, right? So Froggy makes his entrance, and there was an eruption of Froggy, and I'm gonna say about 80% of the crowd was there for Froggy that night. So long story short, Froggy knocks out his opponent. I can't remember which round or what have you, but the funny thing about it, not to say that anybody getting knocked out is particularly funny, but I distinctly remember this member of the commission, the California State Athletic Commission, and she was wearing a referee's dress. It was like a referee's outfit, the zebra black and white outfit, but it was a dress that and then the ends she kind of clipped out to be almost to the ilk of like Wilma Flintstone from the Flintstones. But the reason why she stands out, and she was also in heels, but when Froggy knocks his opponent out, the crowd obviously just erupts. It was pandemonium. But one of the people that were in Froggy's camp, right? The people that had come to see him literally leaped over this particular official and were about to scale the cage to meet Froggy, who also had climbed to the top of La Jaula and did his trademark, like, muscled out pose and what have you. And she was just like, get the fuck out of here! And that was hilarious to me. But Froggy won that night, and he basically, you know, partied with his friends and family and what have you. I kind of shook hands with him. That was a great knockout. He probably, out of the many people that he met that night, probably couldn't have picked me from, oh well, Adam, right? But as I started kind of doing a little bit more of the media and the social media stuff at fights, and began my career as kind of a journalist of sorts for MMA and combat sports, we'd cross paths, and he was always so kind. Or when I was doing the Two Guys One Phone podcast on Facebook with Marcos Bonilla, he would always be very kind and complimentary. So when I got the opportunity to work with Busan Wong to basically craft fighter profiles or promo videos, that was all Busan. I just kind of helped put the pieces together, but everything that you see visually on those promo pieces, that's all Busan Wang. But the first person that I wanted to, well, I didn't want to, but the opportunity presented itself that we were going to go out to West Coast Jiu-Jitsu Academy and film not just Froggy, but Michael Reyes, his teammate and partner, and also at the time Combate Americas alum, right? So we're shooting this film and asking questions, and Bosun's doing his cinematographer stuff, and it was just a cool experience. And we had literally the lay of the land in terms of the gym, and the gym is so cavernous out in Ventura County. But we were talking, Froggy and I told him this very story, and he takes me out to his car and pops the trunk, and he pulls out something, and he starts to grab a Sharpie and sign it, and he presented this to me, and it's very special. But it's a fight-worn fight glove from his amateur career, which is one of the prized possessions of kind of like my memorabilia collection. But you can see it. It's like Froggy Estrada, Froggy 805, because he reps that area of Ventura County. He puts it on his back, which is so cool to see. And you know, the community responds, because every time he fights, especially here in LA, it's 60% or more of the people that come to see any fighters or come to see that particular Combate's card are there to see Froggy, and that hasn't waned at all. So it's really cool. So Froggy, thank you for this, and thank you guys for listening. This has been According to Woods, and I'm out.